Welcome to the You Are a Force podcast channel, your go-to space for real stories, fearless dreams, and unstoppable women rewriting the rules. And the force behind this podcast. Here is your host, Binoli, Botadara.
Hi everyone, welcome to You Are a Force, the podcast where we celebrate women who break barriers, own their voice, and also turn mic into the source of power. I'm your host, Binoli Botadara, and today we have someone very special, a woman who traded a certainty of career or a corporate career into electrifying chaos of live television, a world where a reputation can be built or broken in just literally a single second and in an unedited moment. Yet she stands in the center of all the action, and here is a kicker. A part of the group where she belongs, you can actually count on two fingers the number of women in the sports broadcasting in India. She has anchored 1,100 live shows, from ICC World Cup to Olympics to NBA courts to WPL and of course IPL stadiums. And she's the voice that brings stats, spirit and razor-sharp insights to millions. She's also lent her voice to corporate giants, major social and political events, and on the biggest stages on the world map. So a blueprint she followed wasn't given to her. She pretty much forged through the sheer grit, talent, and strategic resilience. So it's my absolute honor to welcome a force, none other than Ridhima Pathak. Ridhima, thank you so much for being on You Are a Force.
Thank you so much, Binoli. It's my pleasure, absolutely. And that was a lovely introduction.
No, it was while I was reading also, I was just visualizing a couple of the broadcast moments which I saw while you were covering IPL and covering a couple of sports events. So it's really fun to actually do this with you. And I was just thinking that, do you get like butterflies in the stomach before somebody hits live or somebody hits play or record? Does it happen?
Always, really always. There's a saying in live broadcast that if you're still not feeling the butterflies, it means you're still not in the game.
Really?
Yeah, and that's the thing with any kind of live, whether you're doing stage, whether you're doing television, they say that if the butterflies are still not coming in, that means you're losing touch with your craft, or, that hunger is not there.
Really?
So I feel nervous every single time. And I genuinely do. Yeah.
Well, then that just makes me very comfortable that though I don't do this live, but I still get the butterflies in the stomach, because most of the times I've interviewed women who are like stars and they're icons in their own field. And then I always, feel a bit nervous just before I start. So, okay, fine. That just makes me feel normal that, okay, this is not something
This is normal. This is absolutely normal.
Great. So, Ridhima, let's just hit rewind. Before all the bright lights and the broadcast mics, tell us about your childhood. Were you into playing any sports? Were you training with something, or you were into the school performances of elocution competitions or debate? So how was your childhood like? And I just want to understand that, were you doing something unconsciously which prepared you for who you are today?
100%. Well, who I am today was dependent on two very strong pillars of my childhood. One was I came from a family which was extremely academics driven. And sports genuinely requires someone with an academic bent of mind. If you do not have that, it will be very difficult for you to survive in the long game. Mm-hmm. So you need to have an academic bent of mind. By that I mean is that you should be able to study. You should know how to study. That is also an art, to know how to study, So I think that really helped me, because it was such an academically driven family that I came from. I'm an engineer. Engineering itself is such a strongly academic driven field that, there is no other way out but to study. And secondly, one thing that I was doing unconsciously is the fact that I was really into debates, extempores, elocutions. I think my dad was posted in Shimla when I was going to this British convent called the Sacred Heart Convent School, Dara Hall. And the one thing that we really, really taught us was to become a very good orator. And at that time, it was a 110 years old school. I don't know how old it is now. But because everything was still wooden, and it was made in the time of the Britishers, and there was very little that was done in order to renovate the old school. The new school was a different thing, but the old school was where the seniors went. And by seniors, I meant anybody above class fifth.
Yeah.
So when I was in class sixth, I was in that senior school, and there were no mics, there were no nothing to boost your voice. So you had to stand in front of an audience in the whole school and speak in a way that everybody can hear it.
And
The girl on the last row can hear it. So that really, I think, shaped me to become a good orator. That really shaped me because I used to do news reading of all the things. So
Wow.
yeah, that really shaped me. I think that school had a major contribution into me becoming a good orator. And unconsciously, I think I was participating in a lot of debates, a lot of extempores. When I was in engineering college, there were debates happening all across Pune, which were paid for if you won. So I thought that was great pocket money. So I would participate in debates to earn money,
Really?
technically. Yeah, because it was just easy money for me. So I used to go there. In fact, there was a saying in my college that when people would see my name, they would start cutting their name because I was there to win it. So yeah, so I think unconsciously I was preparing to be a television broadcaster.
That's so cool. And that just brings me my childhood memories back because when I was growing up, my mom always told me that no matter you win or you lose, any elocution competition, any debate, anything where you have to be on the stage, like being dancing, being anything, you have to take part. And if she would come to know that, I did not take part because for whatever reasons, she would really, really not like it. So and therefore I never developed stage fear. I mean, of course, we just talked about having butterflies in the stomach, but I never had like a moment where, oh my God, there's like thousands of people in the audience. And I still remember there was one concert I went to, like one of the very popular singers, and I was in the audience. My mom just went and told that person, my daughter is learning singing. Can I just send her to come and sing? And I was like 8 years old. So, so I totally know. My mom used to send me at the deep end, but I'm very grateful she did. And therefore, perhaps I can do what I'm doing right now. But speaking of, Ridhima, about your engineering days, and that was something very fascinating that you started your career in marketing after finishing your engineering. And it's quite a stable career. And from there, you suddenly left everything and got into the world of TRPs and live moments. What was that one trigger, and when was that moment, or what was that moment like where you thought that, okay, this is it and I want to leave this and I want to get into something completely different?
I don't think there was one moment, but also I was after engineering, I was working in software R&D.
Okay.
So I was working in software R&D for 5 months, I think 6 months, when the organization themselves put me into business development. And there I was working as a marketing analyst for the same company. So the
Okay.
same organization, somewhere in one of the Wikipedias, it's written that Eaton is a computer store. They'll kill me for it. It was then a $12 billion company that was, or a $16 billion company that was acquiring a company called Cooper to expand its electrical portfolio. So it's a huge company.
Okay.
It's an organization, and they are into power management. Someone's written it's a computer store. It's not a computer store, guys. It's a power management company. It's a $1 billion power management company. I was campus hired there in software R&D. My first job was to code transmissions to automate trucks in the US. I did that for 6 months. I quit that. I mean, I was transferred into marketing and business development in the same company, in the core group. And then I finally quit that. I think I quit that not knowing that I would end up in television. I wanted to be on television, but I don't think I had the courage to say it out loud. Because, I had not done anything remotely close to that.
Yeah.
But when I was in Eton, during the weekends, I was working for a local channel in Pune. I was doing like a travel food show or something. And I think, they really liked my work. I was pretty good at it. But that was not going to lead me to anything, something spectacular, something bigger. But I guess, when you unconsciously put in so much effort, God also thinks at one point, okay, let me just reward her with something. I think it was like that. It wasn't, this is what I want to do. What I knew is that I didn't want to do what I was doing.
What you were doing. Yeah.
I did not want to do that. It was just suffocating me every single day. I would come back home and I would always wonder that what am I doing? In fact, I did a survey also with I was staying in Nabar. That's where my dad worked, and I did like a childish survey where I went and asked about uncles and aunties that are you happy in what you do? And
Really?
I did a survey before quitting my job. I actually did a survey and I asked them that are you happy in what they do, and they all gave me answers like they shrugged their shoulders. They said, it doesn't matter because, we have family to take care of and you find your happiness. And over the years, you tend to love your job and as a colleagues and all of that. And I just did a mathematical calculation. I was pretty logical at that time that, if I am spending 8 hours in an organization and then they expect me to work even more. So I would imagine like another 10 hours and then I'm spending 2 hours in travel. So that's good 12 hours given to work. And if I'm going to be unhappy there, that means overall I'm leading an unhappy life.
True.
Because that's 12 hours plus 8 hours is what your sleep is. So that's 20 hours. Remaining 4 hours you get to do is what you really like to do. And in that, people would want to go and meet their friends or probably party or whatever it is. So I thought it is going to lead to a very unhealthy, unhappy life. So I had to do something that made me happy. So I quit.
Amazing.
I did a logical decision of quitting, yeah.
And that's so clever to actually, put that foot down and understand what really works for you more than anything else, what people would think and nothing of that sort, because that requires real courage and belief in yourself that, whatever I'll do, at least I'll make myself happy, if nothing else.
Yeah.
So, Ridhima, when you applied to Star Sports, you were rejected multiple times.
Yeah.
The beginning of, your venture into the whole world of sports broadcasting. And so, can you tell us how you got the courage to keep applying, one with the rejections, but also at the same time, did they give you any critical feedback, or was it to do with the sexism because you're a woman and you're not supposed to be in this field?
No. In fact, at that time, sports broadcast was very pro women.
Okay.
The one thing they wanted is a lot of women who can talk sports.
Okay.
And even today, the hunt is on, if you truly ask me.
Okay.
Sports broadcast is extremely pro women. There are certain sexist remarks that you may hear here and there, is because it's a huge field, and at the end of the day, it is still a niche field. It is still a male-dominated field. So everybody may be not in tune with the vision of, what is the larger picture. But Star Sports at that time, and even today, is extremely pro-women in terms of taking up the mic and being the face of the broadcast. For that matter, it's now Jio Hotstar. And even Sony, which is the biggest pillar, and I've worked for it for almost 8 years. So I think sports broadcast does a very good job of wanting women to be their face.
Okay.
So there was no sexism there. The problem was that women didn't watch sports. So they were not being able to find a woman who can actually talk sports. So that was the problem. And when I entered sports, but the reason why I kept going and even after being rejected is because I had nothing to lose. If there was even 1% chance of me being able to crack it, it would change my life. So I would think that anybody has to be really stupid to be able to give up that. There was nothing to lose. I was giving my GMAT on the side. I was going to apply I really wanted to study in the Ivy Leagues and, go abroad and study. That was one thing that was going on. And apart from that, because I hosted a bit of cricket in Pune, so I wasn't working anymore. What I was doing was hosting a lot of corporate gigs, which gave me a lot of time in between months to do nothing.
Sure.
So then I would sort of either study GMAT and apply and follow the application process, or dream about getting on television. These are the two things that I was doing. So I was living in Pune at that time. I would just take a cab and, like a shared cab from Pune and go down and give auditions at Star Sports. At that time, we were based out of Mahalakshmi, which was right next to Famous Studio. So I remember I used to get down at Famous Studio, just enter their washroom. The watchman would be like, who's this girl walking in so confidently? I would go to the washroom, freshen up and then enter Star Sports.
Okay.
So that I look a little presentable. So I got rejected a couple of times. And in that rejection, to answer your question, yes, I was given a feedback, which I also figured in a way that, number one, the knowledge in the sport had to be really there was a massive improvement that was required. It was not even like 1%, 2%.
Yeah.
I was not watching sports and not played sport. So there was a massive improvement that was required, number one. Number two, live broadcast is not everybody's cup of tea, because there's somebody talking in your ear all the time while you're talking and trying to make sense of a conversation. So that requires a mind that can focus on two things completely at the same time
Wow.
and to be able to
Know
catch.
that.
Sorry?
Who is talking? Like, I did not know that. The camera or something else?
No, so there is a whole bunch of people who run the PCR. So live broadcast, your graphics are running live, your edits are happening live, everything is happening live.
Oh,
So the
okay.
director is continuously telling you, okay, this graphics is next, pick it up. Now throw to this package, come back, the toss is in 10 seconds, it gives you a countdown, 10, 9, 8, 7. So you have to form your sentence that finishes in 10 seconds.
Wow.
And you go like over to the toss now. So that is proper expertise that comes with a lot of experience. Um, it comes with a very, I really feel that the right kind of mindset is what helps you in building a good sports
Mm,
broadcaster. And that's why I say a good academic bent of mind is required for it. So there's not only the knowledge, you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you're not
yeah,
delivering to the count, then you're not a good sports broadcaster. If you are not being able to make fun of anything that has gone wrong, because there are so many technical things that can go wrong. You
of
know,
course.
some expert has said something totally different at the toss, like we've already seen it happen. Say if XYZ won the toss, but we and decided to bat, but the expert goes like decided to bowl. You have to pick it up and cover it up for him, and then
Sure.
make a good broadcast so that nobody looks bad. I think that sensibility and all takes a lot of time and a lot of confidence, a lot of time that you spend with your colleagues, your relationship that you build with your colleagues.
Mm,
There's a lot of elements that come into sports broadcast. So when I'd entered, I think I have to give credit where it's due. Star Sports was just very kind to give me a break. Some things Star Sports did at that time, which I don't think is happening now across sports broadcast, is that it selected a few people and it gave them a workshop of 1 week.
okay.
So we trained my horses there. Like it was a workshop on how to. So Star Sports was not only looking for a woman anchor, but they were also looking for a woman anchor who can speak Hindi, because women who can speak English are plenty out there. But
Mm,
they specifically wanted a woman who could speak Hindi.
mm.
So that was that was one of my cards that played well in my favor. Yeah, they liked the fact that I was an engineer, so they thought that थोड़ी तो दिमाग लेके आएगी ये लड़की. So a lot of
Yeah.
things out there that played in my favor, and yeah, they gave me a break with hockey.
Okay, that's amazing because when I was doing research about you, and at that time, couple of things which actually struck me that you can't miss the beat, because when I was even watching couple of the things which you were performing or talking, and I mean I am hyper focused. I can't multitask to save my life. So kudos to you when you were saying that you can do it. That's amazing. But also something which is very exciting. You just started with hockey. You do even cricket. You do Olympic coverage. You do like all sorts of sports, right? So when you actually do like present, how do you quickly master the stats and nuances before going live? Because you can't just Google in 2 minutes and do it, because the multiple sports have multiple layers to it, right? And you have to sound at least smart and like well versed of the sport. So how do you do that?
You study the sport. There's a lot of your producer helps you a lot. So producer is different in sports as compared to films. Usually people confuse producer to be the one who's putting in the money. In sports, producer is the man who envisions the concept of the show,
Okay.
which means he also has to help the anchor with necessary facts. Apart from that, the anchor has to do her or his own research. So once the anchor has done his or her own research, there's something called as an RO that is given to the anchor, which is nothing but a run order. In that run order, you have specific points that are listed in which direction the show would flow.
Okay.
So once you've done your research, you know that the show is going to flow in this direction, which means my research and this RO has to converge. So you plan the show accordingly.
Okay.
And then you go on air and it is live.
Okay.
Now, what do you do in a post show? Because that has just transpired, and but because you've seen the game transpire right in front of your eyes, there is nothing that will come out of syllabus. So it is still a part of the syllabus. There, that is the more trickier part where there is no technical RO. You'll still be given a
Sure.
certain, you still have an idea. Ki we will talk about a partnership that has worked. We will talk about this gold medal match which we missed by a whisker. We will speak about a certain athlete who's going to perform tomorrow. All of that is just basic that we're going to
Yeah.
cover that comes to you that, because you're doing broadcast for so long. But basic information you're supposed to have of your own. That is what makes the difference between a good anchor versus an okay anchor.
Yeah. Because I think what you're saying is right. I mean, I personally used to follow cricket a lot. Now I follow pretty much tennis most of the times. But after Sachin retired, I stopped following cricket because I was a die-hard Sachin fan. So I pretty much picked up reading and talking with my dad. And because he is a hardcore cricket fan, so he would give me a lot of stuff. And when I go and talk to men around me, maybe on dates, and then talk about cricket, and then they're like, "Oh, you're a girl. How do you know about a sport?" And I used to hate answering them as like, "Yeah, maybe I know more than you." But but speaking of that, I really want to know, Ridhima, that why women's sports often get treated like a charity event or a feel-good cause, because it's getting there, it's getting the limelight. But why do you think is the fundamental reason why the broadcasters also, and the brands actually refrain themselves from putting the highest stakes of investments also?
If this question was asked to me about 5 years back, I would say, yeah, it is being ill-treated or, something on those lines. But today, I think there is no reason to say any of that. People are putting in a lot of money towards women's sports. People are trying to hype women's sports because I went to ISB recently, which is an all-led women leadership program, and someone made a statement that women are no longer a social commodity, they're a multi-million-dollar business. And sports is a great way to promote that. So I don't think it's being ill-treated. I don't think it's a charity event. I don't think any of that is happening anymore. People are putting in some serious amount of money in women's sports. Brands are wanting to support women in sports. Women's sports is finding its limelight, finding its footing. In my eyes, maybe an athlete is a different, version to it. But I feel that at least in terms of cricket, I think in India, Indian women's sports, Indian women cricket is getting its due. Gender pay parity exists. There was all the support that they wanted during this ODI World Cup or even before that. Smriti Mandana, Harmanpreet Kaur, Jemima Rodrigues, Shefali, everybody is a household name. So I don't know where would you say that it's being ill-treated. I don't think it's being ill-treated at all. I think the only ill-treatment is from women not watching women's sports. I think that is where the ill-treatment is. Where, we do WPL and there is no woman. There are only men who come in support of women. So the problem is that women still don't watch sports. That is the problem. I don't think women in sports is any kind of a charity event at all. At all.
Well, at least the numbers show that way. You don't feel that way, but at least first couple of points. Yes, I agree. It's changing. 50 million viewership to the WPL last year compared to this year of double the numbers. Yes, so definitely that's happening. 40% of the athletes world over are women, but only 4% viewership are from the women. So second point also I agree. But I do not agree or disagree with you on the point that yes, the money still doesn't go to the level how the men's, sports are actually perceived. Also in terms of the stats, if we compare from the money which is actually being paid to a male athlete compared to a woman athlete for the same level.
But which sport are you talking about? Are you talking about
Any
NBA?
sport.
Are you talking... No. You just have to be very specific about a sport.
No, but
you have to be
even
very
cricket.
because the numbers
Okay.
will differ, right?
Let's talk about cricket, right? This Smriti
Yeah, let's talk.
Mandana recently crossed 500 runs ODI target or achievement, which is better than, she crossed Virat Kohli's numbers, right? But she did not get the kind of the coverage which if Virat Kohli would have done, he would have got. Because I was closely following. I just saw like one media clip, one coverage, and then second day it just moved to another news.
No, I would completely disagree with because Star Sports, And Geo Hotstar now was completely filled with coverage around her. My feed was just flooded with everything that to do with Smriti Manna. Everything was, being talked about. All achievements were being talked about. In fact, I was just recently in a conference where there was a mention about the fact that in Vizag there is no stand dedicated to a woman. Immediately now, there's a stand dedicated to Mithali Raj. So if the women just have to bring it out, and it is happening. I don't think that is the case anymore. I really don't. I think what is the case anymore is that, what could really change the game is that if India today goes and wins the World Cup, that would change the game completely. And remember, that also happened for Indian cricket when India won the World Cup in 1983. We are a hero worshipping nation, so we need some sort of accolade coming our way. Like a javelin was a sport that was not heard of till the time Neeraj Chopra went and won the gold in Olympics.
I agree.
So that is an attitude problem of the of our country. But is the government supporting women's sport 100% today?
No, it wasn't
There is
even
no
the
doubt.
government. No. I wasn't even indicating to the government at all. I was indicating more towards the private companies or the brands which are going and
Oh, they are supporting women, and how? In fact, that is the place where women have found center stage.
Since
I mean,
when?
just talk about the numbers that at which women's teams have been brought in the WPL. If you have the numbers, take a look. Would anybody imagine that, a certain team would go for 9,000 crores and 12,000 crores? Those are whopping numbers. The question is that even if the viewership is not that much, corporates are willing to put in that kind of money. So you
Yeah.
have to support the corporate in being able to do that when they know that this is a cause where we might not even recover that kind of money.
Oh, okay, good to know. And
Corporates are really, really putting that kind of money.
since how
Today,
long? Do you think in the last 5 years?
yeah, I think in the last 5 years, especially since WPL has come into fray, or that also came into phrase because there was so much talk about it.
Yeah.
BCCI needed to do something to change the game for women. Also
Yeah.
now people want to really, really sort of support the women's sports because it's going to be a game changer in the next few years to come. Especially if there is a trophy coming our way. Especially if there's, in fact, I've covered Olympics twice now, in the Tokyo and the Paris Olympics. Our most medal prospects were women, not men. It
Yeah.
was women. Lavina Borgohen, I mean, you name it. So everything was. I don't really see it like that anymore. What I see is like now women need to come and support of women,
Yeah.
especially in terms of sport, and women in sport need to deliver much more. That is what is required.
Yes.
We
So
have to be able to compete with Australia head on. That is required.
yeah, I think the whole ecosystem has to actually work for
Yeah.
one thing to work. No, and
So
it's music to my ears the way you're saying and what you're saying because 7 years ago or 6 years ago, so I used to live in Bombay before I moved to London, and one of the Barkha that does this, We the
Mirabai Chanu. Sorry, I was thinking about the weightlifter that opened a medal tally in Tokyo. Mirabai Chanu. Yeah.
So while I was living in Bombay and I had gone to We the Women, and when Mithali Raj was actually talking, 6 years ago or 7 years ago, her version was entirely different than the version which you're giving me right now. So
In fact, her version this year, when I was just speaking to her before the ODI World Cup, was the same. That's where I have understood because that's the difference that has happened in the last.
exactly. So that's what I was coming to that.
Yeah.
That I had seen that version 7 years ago or 6 years ago. And because you have the first-hand information, not just from the viewer's point of view, which is my point of view, or what I've read online or what I've seen, but what you're giving me, and it's such a refreshing change to what you're saying, what the reality today is and what it was. So what perhaps the men's cricket or men's sport would have taken maybe 20 years, at least women's games have done it in 5 years, so that's something phenomenal. So I'm very, very glad to hear that. But speaking of that, you have covered like some amazing matches, even men's cricket. So when you actually go and cover India versus Pakistan, it's more religion more than anything else. So when the stakes are so high, when you literally have your heart in your mouth. So what is the pressure like when 200 million people are literally looking for every word you speak? So can you give us like some idea about how the experience is?
I think everything that the athletes say in that moment is something as broadcasters, we also try to imbibe. And there's one thing that they say is that it's just another game. So the broadcasters, our director, our producers, our senior leadership would just be saying it's just another game. It's just another game. So that the pressure is not there. But yes, it is a full stadium. A full stadium, whether it's in India, Pakistan, or India, Australia, or whether it's an India game, whether it's happening in Timbuktu, it will be a full stadium.
True.
Right? So the biggest challenge there is being able to hear the PCR, your directors, because the noise is so loud. And I think in 2019, that was my biggest struggle, is because I was very new to broadcast. And we were still doing only digital, but yet it was still a broadcast. So I think the biggest challenge is being able to hear the producer. So in that case, in broadcast, we have another person called the floor manager.
Okay.
Who, in terms of a crisis where the anchor cannot hear the producer, becomes your producer on the floor. So the anchor can see the floor manager right next to the camera. So then the floor manager becomes your go-to man that, he'll say, take a break, go on for another 10 seconds, graphics coming by. And, depending on how professional that floor manager is, some of them even write down instructions on a white slate and, they keep showing it to you and then keep turning it around just in case you can't hear the producer. Sometimes that also happens because of a technical glitch. Sometimes it's just not working. The talkback is not working, and then you rely on your floor manager. So that works. But I think just to handle that kind of pressure is just experience over time. It's just something that you learn over time. It is it's just that game. It's just experience.
Okay. And you've done, apart from cricket, as we discussed, you've covered a lot of other sports, from Olympics to NBA to also hockey. So please tell us that, what's the highlight of the whole Olympics experience when you did it in Japan and in Paris? So from seeing from the athlete's point of view, and when you see at the global stage with this gigantic seismic event which is happening, how is the atmosphere like? If you can give us some nuances, and how is it different compared to all other, sports events?
So the thing is, in both Olympics, whether it's the Tokyo and Paris, I wasn't at the venue. I was doing broadcast from Mumbai.
Okay.
Tokyo because of the pandemic, and with Paris, Gio was doing everything from here. But I've done the Asian Games in Jakarta.
Okay.
So I can just tell you that multidisciplinary sport is very, very different from cricket. It is very different. Number one, in terms of broadcast perspective, every country has its own broadcast. So there's a Chinese broadcast, there's a Japanese broadcast, there's an American broadcast. So you just get to see so many people from so many countries doing sports coverage in a certain way, which is a little different than what we do in India. Okay. And I'm sure they're finding the same difference. So the learning as a broadcaster is tremendous. And I've missed the opportunity of being on ground in the Olympics for both Tokyo and Paris. But having said that, even in terms of, even if you're doing it from the studio, the preparation is very different, is because you're supposed to have a certain bit of knowledge about every sport that will come your way, whether it's football, whether it's, equestrian, it was golf, it is swimming, it is cycling, it is, you name it, whatever is coming your way, you're supposed to have a bit of knowledge on that. Shooting, I learned so much about shooting when Manu Bhaker won us the medal. So wrestling. So in Asian Games, in fact, I came to know about certain sports that I didn't know existed. There was a sport that in 2018 Asian Games, and you won a medal in Sepak Takraw. I actually was very, very surprised to hear and to study about Sepak Takraw in 2018. Okay. And what had India already achieved in that sport. Then we won a medal in bridge in Asian Games 2018. So, we were running around from one point to another point in a jiffy, because India was winning so many medals during that time. Squash, learned a lot about squash. So you need to have basic information about every single sport. But more importantly, you should know the athletes better. So the one preparation that you do before getting into a multidisciplinary sport is that you really study the Indian contingent better, so that you're able to understand what is this athlete representing. If this athlete wins a medal, is the athlete a medal contender? Because that would give you a fair idea of, okay, this athlete is something that I really need to study about, is because this person can win a medal. So, like Amira Baichanu, 100% medal contender in the Tokyo one, because she missed it by the whisker in the previous one. So Mirabai Chanu, we were really looking forward to. Then again, Neeraj Chopra, we followed the journey from the Asian Games 2018, coming into the Federation Cup, and then getting into the Olympics. So that was again a medal prospect. We just didn't know that it would be a gold. So, like our Indian hockey team, we're supposed to really know them very well, is because they're always a medal contender. Our Indian women's hockey team, also for that matter, in Tokyo, finished fourth. So you need to know them very well. So I think the study is more around athlete than the sport. But when you get deep into it, then you need to study the sport as well.
Okay. And I hope that, you get to cover the next one on the ground, the Olympics. If not, I'm sure it's going to happen in India. So I really hope and pray that you get to do that and experience
Thank
it.
you.
Then maybe we can share the notes later. But Ridhima, I want to understand, you have been in close proximity with these athletes, which is incredibly amazing to see them perform also, off field. So I always wonder, and I really want to know, when an athlete, has a soul crushing defeat and they've just missed an opportunity, like literally by a whisk. What is a process? I mean, I'm sure each one of them have different ones, but from what you have seen, how do they actually develop that mental resilience, or what is the way they usually deal with a significant loss and still come up and fight the next one again?
I think they just build like that, because they've done that so many times in their lives. We're only seeing a final version of them, but they've been able to do it ever since they stepped into the arena. They've been doing it since day one. So that fighting spirit in them it's ingrained in them, and it's the whole life is around that spirit. So I've been able to see it and notice it from close quarters, and that's why I realized that this is how they've lived. They do not know any other way to live, especially in multidisciplinary sports, from the backgrounds that these athletes come from. And imagine, you have a chance to win yourself a medal and change your life after every 4 years. It is not happening, this moment, this occasion is not coming every year. It's after every 4 years. So imagine the level of grit, the level of determination, the level of self-belief that they're riding on. And that is just tremendous. And you cannot have that overnight. You either have to be born with it, or it's instilled in you ever since you stepped in that sport. And that has to be at a very, very young age. And you know what they say, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a proper town to raise an Olympian. So there are a lot of people who contribute to that. They have an excellent support staff. And more importantly, you cannot take away what they do themselves. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
It is really that's the reason why they're called elite athletes.
Yeah.
It is that level.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to actually understand, because you can read about them, you can, hear about them, or perhaps you can watch the interviews, but it's like next level. I was actually listening to one of the Ronaldo's old, clips, or watching it, and he actually was telling his son that, you cannot, like, even one day you cannot miss the training, or even have Coca-Cola or chocolate. And imagine, like, a 7, 8 years old child was being told that. I think so, that level of discipline and the mental strength, actually, I think perhaps is the reason. But also how they manage just their mental health or the leadership qualities. But what is that one thing, according to you, which makes somebody a GOAT compared to all other athletes? So, like, say, what do you think, apart from just the skill sets or the discipline they have? Like, what is the one, maybe soft skill or maybe something which differentiates them from the rest?
I think it's consistency. It is just consistency. Not everybody can be, your own peers, your own colleagues cannot be as consistent as that one person who will stand out. And it is not that, it's nothing but that. That particular person has been consistent, not every day, not every hour. He's been or she's been consistent every minute. every
Wow.
second of their life. They've dedicated heart, they've dedicated sweat, they've dedicated blood, they've dedicated soul to that cause. And that is the reason why they are different, even in a team sport, you know? So that is the only thing that makes them different.
Right.
Is my take on whatever I have seen so far in this little journey that I've had as a sports presenter. I think this is what I've observed.
Wow. I got the chills actually while you were saying, because I genuinely felt that in my bones that yes, that is something which is not easy. It's easier said than done, but that requires,
I think it is very easy for them
yeah.
because that is what they're living for.
Okay.
So passion overrules everything else. You have to be in love with what you do to be able to do it that way. There is nothing else that can distract you because you are completely in love with what you do. And that level of love for what you do comes to very few people. And that's the reason why they go.
Sure. And you have amplified a lot of stories, a lot of athlete stories, a lot of people's stories. But I want to know, when was that one moment which nearly broke you, and maybe personal, maybe professional? And looking back, you think that that was actually a winning shot, and you were like, good that happened to me. So, what was that one story, if you can share with us?
Uh, I think when Star Sports didn't hire me after Kabaddi, I thought that, oh my God, what am I going to do? But it opened doors for me in a brand new sport, in an American sport, in a niche sport in NBA, where Sony gave me a break. I think that just opened doors to a whole new audience, people seeing me in a different light. And when I've been able to do so many sports, a lot of people ask me that what does it take to do so many sports? And I feel like, and I always tell them that a sports anchor has to be a very good actor because every sport has a different culture. Cricket is a different culture than tennis. Tennis is a different culture than basketball.
Yeah.
Basketball is a different culture than athletics. So every sport has its culture. And when you as a performer, as an anchor, are flexible to imbibe that culture in you when you're delivering your lines, whether it's wearing the kind of clothes that are required to be able to belong to that culture, whether that's speaking that lingo, whether the delivery changes when you're doing cricket versus NBA versus athletics, your whole delivery changes. So I feel like a sports anchor, when you're doing many sports, you should also be a great actor because you're able to drive the audience that is in tune with that particular sport, and they can also hear what you're saying and think that you belong there. That only happens if you're a good actor.
Wow, love that.
Yeah.
And you have interviewed and you've been, again, very close to a lot of athletes. So, can you tell me like one fangirl moment which you had, like where you were just literally starstruck? And how was it? And was it different from the PR image you had for that person or people?
It's not really happened yet. I
Okay.
don't think I have been extremely starstruck by an athlete yet.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think it's happened yet. I have. I've been in awe of the how gigantic NBA players can get. I've been in awe of how robust WWE players look because I've also done that sport. I have been in awe of Virat Kohli when I first time ever met him in 2019. He was our captain. I've never interviewed MS Dhoni yet, though I've done an event with him, but I've never really interviewed him. Maybe that is a starstruck moment. I don't know. I've done an ad with Sachin Tendulkar. I was in awe of him, but I wasn't starstruck. So I don't think starstruck has happened to me yet.
Okay. And then who is that one person you would like die to actually interview that person, global or Indian?
I think it would be really cool to interview Messi.
Wow, I did not see that coming. Wow,
Yeah, it'd be really cool to interview Messi. Yeah.
that's amazing. Do you follow football?
A tad bit, not too much. I follow FIFA. Recently, I did a off-roading for Apollo tires with Gary Neville.
Okay.
So that was really nice. It was fun. But
Okay.
I think I'll be starstruck, or an interview that will really, really add value for me would be an interview with Messi.
Wow, let's manifest it, and I hope it happens soon.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Ridhima, for all the girls listening today, because I want this to be out there and which can actually create an impact to all the women who are listening today and dreaming of owning a mic and starting to get into a field where you are, or maybe something which is so male dominated. What is the one piece of advice would you give it to all these women out there?
Forget that it's male dominated to begin with, because the moment you forget it, that no longer is a hindrance. Secondly, don't walk in clueless about the sport. That was a lot of mistakes that probably even I did, and many girls around my time were doing. Don't walk in clueless about a sport, because it just makes you look really, really bad. So, and that's the reason why you have to hear sexist comments coming your way. So don't walk in unprepared. Preparation is everything, and especially, as you say, it's a male-dominated industry. The thing is that all eyes are on you for good reasons and bad. So, all the more reason you should be even more prepared. And the only way to dominate a certain space, whether you're a man or a woman, is to be extra prepared.
Yeah.
So don't walk in unprepared is my only advice to women watching.
Yes, do your homework. And what's the one or two sexist comments you received early or even now in your career? And how did you answer back? Because sometimes I really think, and I have faced my entire career sexist comments one after the other, because I work in finance. So even in Bombay also, the way I look, the way I dress, and millions of other comments, because people would not put my skill sets or hard work, but they would just associate all other things. So I want to know, how do you deal with it? Because I used to literally sometimes answer back, sometimes ignore, sometimes laugh. So therefore, I'm just asking for my personal interest.
Exactly what was said, I will not be able to remember word by word. But I think sometimes it sometimes used to boil down to what you're wearing. So that is how I dealt with it, is by not wearing what I was not comfortable with. I would simply not wear it. And when you just say that you're not uncomfortable, when you say it out loud, people get it. The problem is a lot of women are not saying it out loud out of fear.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
So assumption is the mother of all kind of evil. So stop assuming. It's just, I'm not comfortable, I'm not comfortable. Just say it out loud.
Yeah.
And then whatever people have to say is have to say. There's not much you can do about it. So I thought that sometimes is a thing, that what you're wearing is in focus more than what she's saying. That was one thing. Secondly, there was something very funny which happened not in sports broadcast but in an event where it was a motorsport event, and my male anchor was there with me, and there was a certain bit of a script that was handed to both me and him. And because it was a motorsport event, all the technical aspects, all the numbers that were written in my script about the car that was being launched. So when the director came in, he cut my name from it and put in the guy's name.
Wow.
So that I do not have to say the numbers and talk about the technical aspect of the car, because for some reason he thought maybe I won't deliver it right, or whatever was his reason. He didn't give me a reason. He just simply cut my name and put in his name. I was extremely offended by that. And how do I respond? Well, male anchor was nice. I told him that, some part of that, if you could let me do it. So I said, sure. So we went on, it was a stage, it was not being telecasted somewhere. I went there and, spoke about the specifications is what we call them. So specifications of the car. He also spoke, I also spoke. When we got down, that guy came to me and said, hey, you did a good job. And I said in a very polite way, thank you, but I just want to tell you that I'm also an engineer. So specifications comes to me like second nature. This is what I've done for 4 years in my life, and I was in software R&D, and this is what I do. So he was actually not apologetic about it. He just left. But his wife was there. And his wife came to me and apologized to me and said, "Hey, Ridhima, I'm really sorry if you felt, that remark was a little sexist." And I just said, "I'm glad you understood." So that's it. That's all.
Yeah, message learned, and I hope he did not do it again. Because I interviewed Renuka Kriplani. I'm not sure if you know her, but she is a legend, and she was the fastest woman ever. Drove like 357 kilometers an hour. Her podcast is actually there, and I was in awe of her. The kind of things which she does and talks about it. 75 or 80% of her followers are men, because she definitely certainly knows more than them. So people, I think what you said is also right, that if you know your content, people are going to respect, and then they're going to forget who you are in terms of your gender. So on that note, before I let you go, I'm going to ask some rapid fire questions very quickly, whatever comes to your mind, and just bring it on. What's the most memorable broadcast coverage you did?
Olympics, Paris.
Okay. Toughest athlete you have ever interviewed?
Toughest athlete. Nobody. Everybody was good.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. Everybody was good. Everybody is really kind, especially if there's a woman, they will give the answers and they'll be very kind.
Yeah, I think the way chivalry as well, right?
Chivalry as well. Yeah,
Yes.
chivalry as well.
Yes. What's the single most important mental toughness you learned being a broadcaster, live broadcaster?
Forget what happened wrong. Just quickly forget everything.
Wow, love that. Best piece of advice you've ever received?
I think the best piece of advice in broadcast that I received: when in doubt, leave it out.
One self-care routine you swear by?
Sunscreen.
If you could meet 16 years old Ridhima today, what would you tell her?
Life is going to be miraculous.
If you could change one rule or norm or unspoken assumption in the sports of broadcasting or sports broadcasting overnight, what would it be?
Assumption overnight would be that if you're good looking, you get to be a presenter.
Before going live, how do you warm up? What's your quick fix or routine?
I speak loudly in front of the mirror so that my voice opens up.
Okay. Any supplements which athletes take, or any rituals which athletes take or do, which you've seen it, which you can share with us, which many of us don't know, but we can benefit out of it?
They do everything very slow. There is no rush in whatever they're doing. I was in a gym in Delhi where, KL Rahul and many other Shreyas Iyer and many other athletes were training, and I realized that I was the only one going fast. They were all going so slow. They were breathing through. They were not doing much. They were concentrating on one muscle. They just take it slow and steady.
Okay. Your dream co-host on a live broadcast, international or Indian?
It would be really cool to host something with Harsha Vogle or Ian Smith. I think Ian Smith would be a riot to host something with.
Yeah, I love him. Even Harsha Bogle is amazing.
Yeah.
And one sport you secretly wish you played professionally?
Chess.
Interesting choice. Great. So on that note, Ridhima, thank you so much for sharing your story with honesty and fire. Your journey is a proof that some of the voices don't just call the game, but they can actually change it. So from breaking stereotypes and barriers to amplifying women's sport and many other sports which we do not really recognize it even. So your path reminds us that mic isn't just a tool, it's your power. And like Serena Williams said, that the success of every woman should be inspiration to others. And then that's what exactly we are doing. And this conversation was definitely a spark. And to everyone who is listening today, watch women's sport. Really support all the women's team. Demand equal coverage, amplify voices, and celebrate wins like that. They really matter. So, and remember, this is not just a podcast. It's a movement. It's a global sisterhood. And it's definitely a stadium full of women and allies who are cheering our loudest dreams and quieter fears. So keep playing your innings even when no one is watching. You may hit the six, not on every ball, but keep showing up and holding your ground, and power is going to let you be one day that famous and one day that athlete people will admire. So grab your mic, own your stage, and go all out because, darling, remember, just like Ridhima, you are also a force. So stay fearless and stay powerful. Until next time, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to You Are a Force. Hit subscribe and join us next week for more powerful stories from women rewriting the rules. Until then, keep building, keep leading, and remember, you are a force.